Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, I'm answering one simple question. When will Tesla stock pay out a dividend, if ever? In this video, I'll run through the numbers, a few different scenarios, and my reasoning. So let's get into it. If you love crypto, stocks, and free stuff, or just want to help out the channel, check out these great offers. BlockFi are launching the world's first Bitcoin rewards credit card. People in the US can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase with no annual fee using the BlockFi Bitcoin rewards credit card. Check out the link in the description. And for a limited time, you can get up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $300 just for opening an account. And if you make an initial deposit of $5 or more, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $2,000. Seriously. Free stocks? Yes, please. And finally, if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for your support, guys. Let's get back to it. So, I'll cut straight to the chase here. Will Tesla stock ever pay out a dividend? Yes. Now, I don't have any inside information or a time machine. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a brain, and I've used it. And it seems inevitable. There is no other way things play out. The question is more around when, not if. In just a moment, we'll dive into the details, the numbers, look under the hood, do some ballpark scenarios, and try and ascertain exactly when Tesla stock will start paying out a dividend. But the too long didn't watch version is quite simple. When will Tesla stock start paying out a dividend? Quite simple. When Tesla is so profitable, bringing in so many tens or hundreds of billions of dollars every single year that they cannot envision a single possible use in any future scenario for some of that capital. Just to be really clear, there is absolutely zero chance Tesla will pay out any dividends if they believe it will slow their mission. But there's going to come a point, I believe, sooner than most people expect, where Tesla has so much cash accumulating, so much profit coming in every quarter, every year, that even in their wildest dreams, they cannot think of ways to spend this money. Let me make a correction there. They will not be able to think of ways to spend all of that money. So let's do some ballpark numbers and just try and ascertain the types of profit Tesla is likely to be generating in 5 years' time, 2026, and also going out a decade to 2031. And by the way, there's always somebody that gets their panties in a twist in the comments. So just to be super clear, these are ballpark numbers. I'm not showing you what to think, but how to think. We're just going to plug in a few very simple round numbers to get a bit of an idea of what Tesla might be doing in terms of profits. Use your own numbers, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to illustrate the point. So here we are looking at my Tesla production estimates running out through till the end of this decade. We're just going to focus initially on 2026. I expect Tesla to be producing around 5.5, maybe 6 million vehicles in 2026 in my bear case. Just to give you guys some context, my bull case for Tesla production in 2026 is over 9 million vehicles. And just for good measure, my base case around 8 million vehicles. We're going to be super conservative and use my bear case, round it up just a little bit for a nice round number to 6 million vehicles delivered, just to illustrate the point. Now, just in case there happens to be any Wall Street stock analysts watching right now, obviously that's not going to happen, but hey, let's play along at home. Let's assume that somebody's watching and thinking, dude, how on earth do you get to 6 million units delivered in your bear case in 2026? Let's do some math. Don't even need the calculator for this one. Ready? Shanghai, final capacity, 1 million. Berlin, final capacity, 2 million. These are confirmed. This is already 3 million units. Austin factory, my presumption, 3 million. We're already at 6 million units per year just from those 3 factories. That's assuming that Fremont doesn't even exist. And that's assuming that Tesla makes no more factories between now and then. I think it's a pretty easy case to make that Tesla could, in theory, get to that capacity without making any additional factories, just continuing to construct the ones that are currently being built and fully ramping those up. Easy, right? Or we can approach this in an entirely different manner. Let's assume that Tesla delivers 900,000 vehicles this year and they can grow their deliveries at just 50% per year between now and then. Ready? 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26. What do you know? We found our way to that same figure. Keeping in mind that Tesla on their earnings call this year in Q2 2021 said they expect to grow between 50 to 100% this year to next year. Tesla is aiming to exceed a 50% compound annual rate of growth for a period of many years to come. And this is where the rubber meets the road. What sort of profit could Tesla be producing in 2026? Easy numbers. So to keep things nice and simple, we're going to completely disregard Tesla's energy business, forget it even exists. We're going to ignore all the other potential business opportunities, products and services that may happen in the future, and just focus on automotive, including sales of vehicles, as well as software revenue, in particular, the full self-driving software package. I'm going to assume that on average, Tesla makes a $10,000 profit per vehicle sold when you factor in recurring revenue from full self-driving software subscriptions, plus the profit on the new vehicles sold, okay? Just nice, simple numbers, very easy, ready? $10,000 profit times 6 million vehicles sold per year equals a $60 billion profit. Not revenue, profit. One way to think about this is if Tesla wasn't actually selling any software whatsoever, but they have an average selling price of $40,000 per vehicle and a 25% profit margin, they're making $10,000 for every vehicle sold. Pretty easy math. But of course, we have to factor in the size of Tesla's fleet. If Tesla's producing 6 million vehicles per year in 2026, that means that Tesla's entire fleet of vehicles will be about 20 million strong. So think about this for a moment. It's not just revenue from new vehicles sold, but Tesla has recurring revenue. Every existing customer out of that 20 million strong fleet who is subscribed to full self-driving is bringing in almost pure profit revenue. In my opinion, this $10,000 figure is astonishingly conservative, like ridiculously bearishly conservative. But again, simple numbers, let's just roll with them. For the detail nerds out there, just to illustrate the point, if you decided to factor in some of that recurring revenue, $200 per month times 12 months, we're talking about $2,400 per month for every user who's actually subscribed to the full self-driving software package in 2026. Let's say the take rate was approximately 50% of the fleet. We're talking roughly 10 million vehicles paying that per year. We're talking about an additional $24 billion of profit per year. But we're ignoring this completely. So honestly, between you and I think realistically, Tesla could be looking at close to $100 billion of annual profit in 2026. But we're going to ignore the fleet, the existing full self-driving subscriptions completely. We're also going to round down my figure of $60 billion based on 6 million vehicles sold, $10,000 profit each. We're going to just use a $50 billion figure. Again, I'm trying to be ultra conservative, attempting to compensate for my optimism bias. So the question is, how the is Tesla going to spend $50 billion a year beginning in 2026? Now guys, I don't want to jump the gun here too much, but just to save doing all the calculations again, I'll just cut to the chase. Tesla in 2031, I expect to be doing somewhere on the order of $500 billion to $1 trillion of annual profits per year. And no, I didn't pull this number out of my ass. I've done the numbers, I've thought about this in detail, but hey, we're not going there. I just want to illustrate the point here. So let's first of all talk about factories. Maybe Tesla can use this money to build more factories. Well, the question is, how much does a factory cost? Based on the best available information, Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory, ramping to 500,000 vehicles so far, not the end destination, but so far, has cost somewhere on the order of $4 to $5 billion US. If somebody from Tesla knows the exact figures, feel free to slide into my DMs. Of course, economies of scale come into play, Tesla deleting parts and processes, the huge rear gigacasting, the huge front gigacasting, etc. Over time, the point is, for Tesla to reach a factory of around 2 million units of capacity, which would mean they'd need 10 of these factories in total, if they're to reach their goal of producing 20 million vehicles per year, simple math, right? 10 factories times 2 million vehicles per year equals 20 million vehicles. It's going to cost them far less than $4 to $5 billion per 500,000 unit of capacity because they're getting better, they're doing more with less. Economies of scale also come into play. I'm going to assume a $15 billion cost per Tesla factory with 2 million units of annual production. This may actually be less. I think I'm actually being a little bit bearish on this as well. I actually think over the long term, this is going to be quite a lot less than $15 billion. But again, I want to be really conservative. Now, I don't want to lose you guys here with too many numbers, so don't worry. This won't hurt too much and it won't take too long. Where have I said that before? Anyway, the point is quite simple. If Tesla's already producing 6 million vehicles in 2026, that means they need capacity for another 14 million to get to their goal of 20 million by the end of the decade. That means 7 new factories, each doing 2 million vehicles per year. The total cost to build those factories based on $15 billion per factory is $105 billion. Well, hang on a minute. That's only 2 years of annual profits at 2026 rates. But if they continue to scale their business, there's going to be more profit in 27, 28, 29. Well, they definitely can't spend all the money on factories, not even close to it. So what else can Tesla be spending the money on? Well, we know Tesla is transforming into one of the world's leading artificial intelligence companies. Maybe they're investing heavily in supercomputers to train their neural networks to get even better in terms of full self-driving and potentially other AI applications as well. Good idea. How much could they possibly be spending on supercomputers? As far as I'm aware, today, the world's most expensive supercomputers cost somewhere in the ballpark of approximately $100 million. Well, let's say that's not good enough for Tesla. Let's say they get something that's 10 times the size, 10 times the cost. Forget about economies of scale. Let's assume that Tesla is spending $1 billion on a supercomputer every single year going forward. What's that as a percentage of $50 billion profit in 2026? 2%, literally nothing. Okay, well, what if we go insane and say maybe they spend 100 times more than the world's biggest supercomputer today? That's only $10 billion. That's 20% of their 2026 profit. We're starting to see a little bit of a problem here. Even in 2026, it seems very difficult that Tesla's going to be able to find reasonable ways to spend their money, even if they're building supercomputers 100 times bigger than the most expensive today. What else could Tesla spend their money on? I know. Robotaxis. What if Tesla begins building their own robotaxi fleet? In other words, they're not producing vehicles to sell to customers, but they're producing vehicles specifically to displace internal combustion engine vehicles, owning and operating their own robotaxis. By the way, if this were to happen, the numbers are absolutely absurd in terms of profits and revenue, but let's forget about that. Let's say that Tesla decides to start building some of their annual production not to sell to customers, but to purely operate as robotaxis, keeping in mind this would be in line with their mission. After all, Tesla's mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. If Tesla is specifically building robotaxis in key markets solely to operate as robotaxis rather than selling them to customers who sometimes will also operate them as a robotaxi, the total utilization rates on Tesla's own robotaxis will be through the roof, much more than a customer-owned vehicle. So this does align with their mission. So what if Tesla decides to make an absolutely ridiculous 1 million robotaxis per year starting in 2026? Now, keep in mind that they're not going to have to mark these up and sell them to customers, right? This is the actual cost to produce the vehicles. So, if Tesla by that stage has a $25,000 vehicle, and Tesla doesn't need to sell that for a profit, they're probably making it for somewhere on the order of $20,000, maybe even less. But hey, let's be ultra conservative and assume for some reason it's actually costing them a whopping $25,000 just to produce those vehicles. Very simple numbers. 1 million vehicles for Tesla's own robotaxi fleet times $25,000 a pop equals $25 billion of expense. Wait a minute, that's only half their 2026 profit as well. Okay, so we have a problem here. Even just looking out 5 years into the future, I cannot see a reasonable way for Tesla to spend the money. I mean, really, I'm trying to be as bearish as I can. Even if Tesla's making 1 million of their own robotaxis and only selling 5 million vehicles to customers, they can't spend the money. Even if they're making ridiculously gigantic investments in supercomputing to train their neural networks and develop AI further, they still can't spend the money. Even if Tesla decided to make gigantic solar farms and battery farms and get really into the energy generation, storage and supply business themselves, rather than doing that through the distributed model selling to customers, again, they just can't spend the money. Help me out a little bit here, guys. Please let me know in the comments below. What could Tesla be spending the money on? 2026, when they're bringing in $50+ billion of annual profits, remember, I actually think it's going to be closer to 100, but we're being really conservative here. How the is Tesla going to spend that money? I'm serious, by the way, guys. I really do want your help. What could Tesla possibly be spending the money on in 2026? There's only so many great engineers you can hire. There's only so many supercomputers you can build. There's only so much you can invest in R&D. There's only so many new products you could possibly simultaneously be developing. There's only so many new factories you need to construct. There's only so much cost to the raw materials necessary for battery cells. Even if Tesla can run far ahead of their own estimates for how many batteries they can be producing by mid-decade, there's only so much cost to buying the raw materials. Even if they're double or triple where they thought, even if they're 10 times where they thought they would be for battery production, there's only so much cost to those materials. I don't know how the they're going to spend the money. Seriously, the only way I could even imagine in a crazy scenario Tesla finds a way to spend that kind of money by mid-decade is if they decide to build a shit ton of robotaxis themselves and also build enormous solar and battery farms themselves. Theoretically, they could do this, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense. My best guess for when Tesla stock will pay out a dividend is somewhere around the middle of this decade. And absolutely, unquestionably, at the latest in the latter half of the 2020s. The only scenario in which I don't see this taking place is if Tesla's big brain engineers and leaders can figure out ways to spend the money that I can't even envision. I'm already accounting for new products, new lines of business, a lot of research and development, I'm accounting for everything I can possibly think of. And still, I cannot find a way for Tesla to spend the money. And now, let's talk finally about the real reason that Tesla stock will pay out a dividend in the future. One word, 4 letters, Mars. So maybe you've heard that Elon Musk has this other company, SpaceX, and their mission is to make life multiplanetary. And how, pray tell, will they achieve this goal? Well, quite simple. Not easy, but simple. Massively reduce the cost of getting objects to space, to orbit, to other planets, and then colonize Mars. There's just one slight problem. Who's going to pay for the Mars colony? Spoiler alert, Elon Musk. Well, at least he's going to be one of the primary funders of the Mars colony. Not a government, not a country, but an individual. Somebody who's generated enormous amounts of wealth on Earth by doing a great lot of good and positively impacting billions of people is going to be deploying this capital to help fund and build a self-sustaining colony on Mars. And this is where Tesla dividends come in. Some of you might be thinking, well, can't he just sell some of his Tesla stock? I mean, certainly that is a possible outcome. But why would you bother doing that and potentially lose some of the control you have over this company when instead you can just start paying out dividends? Given the fact that Elon Musk owns about 20% of Tesla, if they're going to be making tens, hundreds of billions, potentially $1 trillion+ of annual profits towards the end of this decade, what better way to fund the Mars colony than through Tesla dividend payments? It's the perfect outcome. And by the way, just a real quick tangent here. I'm not going to be delicate when I say this, but I don't really mind if I melt a few snowflakes occasionally. When the whole concept of colonizing Mars comes up, there's a few brain-dead morons who immediately say, oh, why did you go to Mars? Why didn't you fix Earth first? Oh my god! There's a few reasons here. First of all, it's not either or, it's and. Elon is fixing Earth with Tesla and also looking to back up humanity onto Mars with SpaceX. It's important to do both of these things. Now, few people just don't seem to understand why is it important to colonize another planet. Doesn't this seem like a waste? Like, who cares? Why not? Why would you do that? You, my friend, may not be aware of the history of life on Earth or some of the phenomenon that occur on this planet and also in this solar system and other parts of the universe. There are many, many, many things that could wipe out not just humans, but all life on Earth. Gigantic impact. Shout out to the dinosaurs. And no, I'm not talking about Ford or GM, I mean the actual dinosaurs. There could be a cataclysmic volcanic event that darkens the atmosphere, freezes the planet. There's all sorts of scenarios, of course. There could be a gamma ray burst too, unfortunately. That'll wreck us if we're on Mars as well. Ultimately, the goal is to get to other solar systems as well. And then, of course, there's artificial superintelligence going awry, the grey goose scenario. I could keep going on. The point is, there's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong and wipe out all life on Earth. So it's kind of important, at least in my opinion, to ensure that we do everything that we possibly can to maintain the light of consciousness, at least in this corner of the universe. In short, Elon Musk's secret master plan appears quite simple. Accumulate a colossal amount of resources doing good on Earth, and then deploy that capital to help back up humanity by colonizing Mars. It seems self-evident that the way that Elon Musk is going to pay for Mars is through Tesla stock dividends. And just finally, I want to talk about how much of a dividend might Tesla actually pay out. For the stock nerds out there, this is called the dividend payout ratio. Basically, what percent of net profit does the company pay out in the form of dividends? Now, I'm going to be as conservative as I possibly can here. I will tell you guys what I honestly think is likely and realistic, but that is not what I'll base these numbers on. I'd much rather err on the side of being pessimistic rather than optimistic in this particular case. As I've mentioned, I do tend to have a bit of an optimism bias, so I'm just trying to counter for that. Also, I'd just like to be pleasantly surprised. So my 2026 profit scenario for Tesla was $50 billion in the bear case. As I mentioned, I actually think this will be closer to $100 billion, but let's be very, very conservative. And this is including any money that's being invested in new factories, new products, research and development that's already accounted for. This is profit on top of that. So the question is, if Tesla's bringing in $50+ billion of annual profit by mid-decade, and they consider paying out a dividend, they have to think, well, hang on, what if we can think of some new ways to spend this money? Maybe there's some new products, maybe there's some things we haven't even thought about. How much should we keep in reserve just in case? And also keeping in mind that this annual profit is going to be growing exponentially. As I said, by the end of the decade, I think this is going to be closer to $500 billion, maybe $1 trillion. So that also has to be accounted for as well. If Tesla maybe pay out a little bit aggressively in 2026, they know that in 2027, they're going to make way more than they made in 26 just to account for that. So I'm going to be very conservative here and assume that Tesla think, you know what, in the absolutely crazy scenario, maybe we could spend half of this amount. Maybe we could spend up to $25 billion in a single year on crazy stuff we never even thought of. This isn't things they know they could spend the money on, but just, you know what, let's be safe, let's be conservative, let's just account for the fact that maybe we don't know what we don't know. So maybe they decide that they could spend about half of this in terms of paying out a dividend. That would be $25 billion. But I'm going to be ultra conservative and again cut this figure in half as well. We're now looking at a potential dividend payout from the total company in 2026 of around $12.5 billion. Elon Musk's share of this, around 20% of the company, is very easy to calculate. That could mean that Elon receives a dividend payout of about $2.5 billion. If we fast forward toward the end of the decade, 2031, in my conservative scenario, assuming about a $500 billion profit, and again, we're using potentially 25% of this total profit, being very conservative, we're talking about $125 billion paid out. How much of that goes to Elon Musk based on his ownership stake of Tesla? Very easy to calculate, 20%, that's $25 billion. In my opinion, more than sufficient capital to help with the colonization of Mars. And now, just finally, a little bit of fun. Let's calculate how much Tesla will pay you in dividends. This is quite a simple task. All we need to do is divide the number of Tesla shares that you currently own by the total number of Tesla shares in existence. Again, this is ballpark stuff. They could issue more shares in the future, but let's just roll with this. So I'm going to use my own ownership stake as an example here. 5,966 shares of Tesla stock divided by the total number of Tesla shares, 1,119,000,000 shares total. Get that and then multiply that by 100 for the percentage ownership, and I currently own 0.0000533% of Tesla. And now for the fun part. Let's work out my potential dividend from Tesla stock in 2026. And I'm going to teach you guys a bit of a Google trick. Oh, oops, how did that get there? Anyway, the trick that I wanted to teach you guys today is quite simple. You can actually type these types of numbers into Google and get a great calculation automatically done. So now that I own my exact percentage ownership stake of Tesla, what is my share of a $12.5 billion dividend payout from Tesla in 2026? And it comes to a grand total of $66,644. And if you guys will recall, my 2031 figure for Tesla's profit and dividend was 10 times what the figure was in 2026, so easy math there, multiply that by 10. We're talking $666,000, hail Satan, wait what, of potential dividends from Tesla stock in just a decade's time. And just one final bit of context here, we're now looking at my total stock portfolio. Shout out to being all in on Tesla stock. I am a man of my word. My total cost basis on Tesla stock to date, just over $850,000 US. So if in 2031, I'm receiving a dividend of about $650,000, give or take, that means that I'm getting approximately 3/4 of my total cost basis paid back out to me every single year within 1 decade's time. And I honestly believe this is a very conservative scenario. There are some more bullish scenarios in which I may be receiving more than my total cost basis per year starting in a decade's time. Not bad. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below, do you think Tesla will start paying out a dividend? If so, when will they begin paying out a dividend, and what percent of their total profits will it be? And I also encourage everybody watching, why not work out your ownership stake of Tesla based on how many shares you own of the outstanding 1.119 billion shares in total, and then work out how much of a dividend would you receive based on your own calculations. It's well worthwhile doing this exercise. And also, make sure you think about what you're going to do with that money. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget the BlockFi Bitcoin Rewards credit card, where you can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase. There's a link in the description. You can also earn up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, also linked below. And finally, don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and Stake, also linked in the description. These great offers also help out the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.